In this video, we will show you how to do foil embossing. We are using metal aluminum foil, which is different from kitchen foil, and it is adjusted for this technique. We are using this supplier, however, you may use whichever you prefer. To use the foil embossing technique, you will need the following: piece of aluminum foil, cardboard base 3 millimeters thick, eraser pencil, H-grade pencil, wooden pencil. One side must be pointy, the other side must be at a 45-degree angle, new ruler or triangle, one paper tape, wood glue, your motive. Now we will show how to flatten the foil and explain why it is important for the ruler to be completely straight. If it is not straight and new, it can leave dents on the foil. For proper preparation of the foil, flatten it carefully on both sides. After you have flattened the foil, it is necessary to secure the design to the base. You will do this using paper tape. For this video, we decided to make a door knocker, which was used in Bosnia because it is a bit simpler to make. Once the design is in place, we move on to tracing the pattern. After securing the design, we move on to the phase of tracing all the lines of the design onto the foil. To check if all the lines have been tracked, turn your picture around. If it is, peel off your motif. Now we move on to the creation phase. It is necessary to go over all the contours of the motif with a pencil again. The middle part is an exception, but we will explain that a bit later. After going over the previous contours, we move on to the phase of indenting the holes, as they actually represent empty space. Of course, everything depends on your motif, and you can use your own judgment to determine which areas of the image should be indented. For this part, we will use a wooden pencil or eraser pencil. Now we move on to the backside. It is necessary to go over the contours again with a wooden pencil. We do this to achieve perfect indentations and to smooth out the foil. It is necessary to flatten the indentations again from the front and then go over the contours with a pencil along the existing edges, as in the previous part. This helps make the edges stand out better. You can further smooth out the indentations with an eraser pencil. Depending on your motif, and in our case currently, draw the center line from the back outward. This way, we achieve a sharp edge. From the top and bottom, we outline parallel lines from the front, that is, inward, and then outline the sides outward. Again, from the front, draw a line along the edge to create a 3D relief indentation, meaning it should appear separated from the rest of the motif, as it naturally is. Then from the back, push out the part outward. From the front, go over the edge again with a pencil. We do this to make the edges stand out better and to smooth the foil. Then draw the rest of the handle. During independent work, you will understand the concept of smoothing the foil, and you will notice how the foil naturally creates its own contours that you don't want. From the front, draw every other line. With this step, when we draw lines from the back, we achieve sharp contours, and when we draw from the front, we create indentations. Next, we move on to pressing the relief out with an eraser from the back. Once we have finished the middle part, from the back, we go over the inner side of the edge with a pencil to achieve fine contours. From the back, we go over the entire motif to highlight it further. It is important to proceed evenly and pay attention, as during this process, the foil can twist. We only press out the areas we want to highlight on the outside. Do not flatten the indentations we pressed earlier. Now you can already see how the motif is taking shape. After highlighting the relief, go over the edges from the back again. Feel free to press out the relief from the back if needed. On the back, go over the edge from the outside. Since the handle is no longer standing out compared to the rest, it's necessary to press out the edge with a pencil from the back, along the inner edge. Then again from the front along the outer edge. Again, we create the relief with an eraser. Now you can already see a significant difference. Now it's necessary to apply a wood fixative evenly across the entire motif. Just cover the surface with a thin layer. It shouldn't be too thick. Once you've filled in the motif, leave it to dry for at least 2 hours. To fill in your motif, you will need a small spatula and styrofoam adhesive. Use the styrofoam adhesive to fill in your motif until it's smooth. Do not leave gaps, but also avoid applying too much so that there are no bulges. Leave it to dry for 24 hours. While the filled motif is drying, we will move on to the next step, painting the base with acrylic black paint. You can use any color you prefer, but it must be acrylic paint. You will need a paintbrush for this step. To make the base look nicer, you can create wavy lines with the paintbrush. Leave it to dry for about 20 minutes. Once the base has dried, apply acrylic varnish. Apply the varnish evenly across the entire surface. To ensure an even application, go over it several times with the paintbrush. After coating, leave it to dry for 2 hours. Once the motif has dried, we move on to the patination phase. We use Staedtler ink for technical pens, as it has proven to work the best for us. Apply the liquid to the center of the motif. You'll need a larger brush for general application and a smaller one to fill in smaller areas. Use circular motions to evenly apply the color across the entire motif. Using a cotton cloth, wipe off any excess paint from the motif. Now with a small brush, fill in the little gaps to make them stand out more beautifully. Next, fill in every other line on the handle that we previously drew from the front of the motif. Now we move on to shading. Apply the color and then gently use a cloth to remove the excess. If you don't want to shade certain areas, you can lightly wipe off the excess with the cloth where you want the motif to be shinier. The motif now looks like this. We will leave it to dry for a bit and then move on to the cutting phase. Once the paint has dried, we will cut out the motif along the edges. We use a metal cutter, but you can use a regular scalpel instead. Now we move on to the gluing phase. We will use wood fixative for the adhesive. Using a brush, gently spread the glue across the entire motif. Center the motif on the base and gently press it in multiple places using a cotton cloth. Use a damp cloth to remove any excess glue. It's necessary to press the motif with something heavy. After that, leave it to dry for 12 hours. Now we move on to the final phase, reapplying varnish. Only the background should be varnished, and make sure not to apply varnish over the motif itself. With this, our picture is complete. We hope you are satisfied, and if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. If you'd like to follow our future works, don't forget to subscribe.